By the way, if you are smart enough, you will know who I am. But you are really not smart enough to know who I am. But soon you're gonna know who I am. Very easy.
Wow, very easy. The entitlement.
No, believe me, I'm much better than that.
The entitlement, guys. Wow.
You will see soon.
All right, guys. So the illegal immigration crisis is getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Okay, as you guys just saw there, apparently there are illegal immigrants from the Middle East at the border saying, soon you will know who I am. Okay, in response to being questioned about who are you, why are you here? Okay, what are you doing here at the border? Are you trying to come into the country illegally? It seems like this guy is making threats against the United States. Okay, and this is type of stuff that has people concerned about the illegal immigration crisis. Not just the fact that clearly and obviously it takes up resources, but also when we're talking about security concerns and safety concerns. Again, the illegal immigration crisis is so bad, okay, and it most definitely needs to be fixed, and it's so obvious that it's bad and it needs to be fixed that even John Fetterman can admit on CNN that, yeah, we need to address this issue. We actually do need to attempt to secure the border. Take a look.
Because obviously a lot of progressives on Twitter have been attacking you for your position on Israel, for noting that, in your opinion, saying that there is a crisis at the border does not make one xenophobic. Why do you think you've been so criticized by so many progressives?
I honestly don't understand. I don't understand why it's controversial to anybody to decide that you're going to stand with Israel in this situation. I honestly don't understand why it's controversial to say we need a secure border. I've been very clear. In fact, that was weaponized against me as Republicans in my race, that I'm very much a strong supporter of immigration. And, you know, my wife's family, that's the Oregon story about that. And I think two things can be true at the same time. You can be very supportive of immigration, but we also need to have a secure border. And I think about immigration as we want to provide the American dream for any migrant. But it seems very difficult when you have 300,000 people showing up encountered at our border to do that. And I think we need to do a reset, and we have to work together and develop a new comprehensive solution to that. And that would also unlock a lot of the critical aid for Ukraine. Again, we cannot forget about Ukraine. That's critical for Israel and Taiwan. That's a very important kind of standard that we have to maintain, that we're going to support and stand with our allies that are very critical.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Okay, even somebody like John Fetterman, who at one point was not in a complete state of mind, even he can see that, hey, the border should be secure. Okay, you have Joe Biden having disastrous poll numbers across the board when it comes to this issue of illegal immigration. However, it seems like Biden is not fighting to secure the border. He's actually more focused on fighting with Texas to try to make it easier for illegal immigrants to come in and to stop Texas from being able to secure their own border because the federal government has failed to do so. And the Supreme Court just ruled today with the help of conservatives, Amy Coney Barrett and Justice Roberts, to allow the Biden administration to make the border less secure. Take a look.
Court here by a 5-4 decision allowing the U.S. Border Patrol to remove razor wire that was deployed by the state of Texas at the border. This is while the legal challenge to this dispute now plays out in court. Right, Joan?
That's right. And we've been waiting for this decision. This has been going on for several weeks, where the state of Texas, Governor Abbott has been blocking the Biden administration Border Patrol at the border in Texas. You know, this is a long simmering immigration battle, and it arose from lower court judges blocking the administration from taking down the razor wire. And today, by a 5-4 vote, along largely ideological lines, the Supreme Court has allowed the Biden administration to continue having access to the border and to take down that razor wire. And let me tell you about the split, Boris and Brianna. Justices Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, and Brett Kavanaugh all dissented from this order. Now, this all started in December, and since early January, the Biden administration had been urging the Supreme Court to intervene and to block the order that kept its border control agents from getting to a stretch of the border along the Rio Grande and to continue taking down this razor wire. And we know how contentious this has been, but it's also been the kind of situation that has caused a lot of injury and deaths. In the middle of this controversy, a woman and 2 children drowned, and the Biden administration said it needed access to this area and to the river for safety reasons and frankly, to carry out the Border Patrol's mission.
Yeah, so there you have it. Okay, the Supreme Court has effectively ruled that they're going to allow the Biden administration to continue to make the border less secure because they don't want Texas putting barbed wire at the border because apparently barbed wire is dangerous for the illegal immigrants. Again, you can't really make this stuff up. The Biden administration is fighting tooth and nail to try to make sure that the border is less secure. You would think that barbed wire at the border would be something that we have by default, right? We shouldn't make it easy, okay, or safe to cross the border into the country illegally. But again, this is the idiots that we have in charge. They want to make it safe to cross into the country illegally. No, we should have deterrents. If you make it not safe to come into the country illegally, then you would have less people showing up to the border, okay? And we wouldn't have the crisis that we have with deterrents. But again, the Biden administration, it seems like this is what they're doing on purpose. And the result of that is chaos, especially in these liberal cities that are getting a taste of the border crisis because Texas Governor Greg Abbott has gotten smart and started sending the illegals to these cities. He's been doing that for a couple years now, and it's getting out of control, right? What is happening is that there are violent incidents that are occurring in these migrant shelters because it's effectively become a Hunger Games situation where they're fighting for the resources that they're taking away from taxpayers, and it is becoming deadly, okay? So without further ado, I want to play this clip here of a fight, a brawl, a massive brawl that broke out at one of New York's migrant shelters.
Questions tonight over the safety and living conditions near a migrant shelter on Randall's Island.
All right, the latest incident caught by our camera involves a woman being carried away after suffering some sort of medical incident in the freezing cold.
This comes after a man was stabbed yesterday. Jessica Formoso has the latest.
A police presence was visible tonight on Randall's Island, a day after a man was stabbed in the neck. Cell phone video given to us by a migrant shows the chaos. This woman had just walked in when she saw the victim screaming for help. The man was stabbed. He was screaming, saying he was stabbed in the neck by one of the security guards. She did not want to be identified, but says a group of Venezuelan men got into some type of argument that escalated into a fight.
Yeah, again, so this is what happens when you let a bunch of single military age men come into the country, okay? I mean, what else do you think was going to happen, okay? These people don't really have jobs. They don't have ways to provide for themselves. And I'm not saying that they should be provided that because that's just going to incentivize more illegal immigrants to come into the country. But I believe that you should not have this situation occurring because they should have been let into the country in the first place. These people are not seeking asylum in a way that I feel is honest and sincere. These are economic migrants. They're over here for better opportunities and jobs, not because they're being politically persecuted. If anything, I think when you talk about seeking asylum, we shouldn't just be allowing military-age males to seek asylum any type of way. No. If you got a problem, what's going on in your country? You got to do what all men throughout history have had to do when it comes to handling those situations. You got to stay there and you got to deal with it. Like, that is the right of a man, right? That is kind of how it goes. It sucks. It's too bad. It's so sad, but that's just how it goes. When we're talking about asylum seekers, if we're going to be allowing people to seek asylum in our country, we have to prioritize women and children, okay? Women and children. So again, we shouldn't have these shelters full of single military age men because we shouldn't even been allowing them to seek asylum in this country in the first place. Not any type of way, not easily, right? Not as easily as, a woman or a child, right? But again, because we have an ass backwards way of doing things, this is what you have. A lot of these shelters are full of military age men, and what happens when you have a bunch of military age men? all sleeping together and trying to fight over resources, well, stuff like this happens, right? Chaos and destruction.
Security got involved. You can see them in the video wearing the yellow vests. 18 people were arrested.
Este es el albergue de la matazón.
They call this place the death shelter, said Angel, who arrived in New York Friday morning. He was placed here at Randall's Island, but says from the moment he walked in, people told him to watch his back.
Antes que me vaya a pasar algo a mí.
Before something happens to me, I'd rather be somewhere else. I'm going to ask to be transferred to another shelter or if they can get me on a flight to another state.
Wow. Imagine coming all the way from Venezuela or wherever they're coming from to the border and then getting bused in New York and then getting to the shelter and be like, damn, I'm in just as much danger as I was from the place that I was coming from, right? That to me seems to be what's happening, right? You got to sleep with one eye open. That's not any way to live. To me, again, this is why I say that it's not humane to just let everybody into the country and we can't really take care of them. We don't have the resources to take care of them. The humane thing to do would be to tell them, hey, look, we can't take everybody. It is what it is. We're sorry, but hey, you might be better off in your own country than here, especially considering how cold it is. These people aren't used to these types of freezing temperatures. They're not used to it. We don't have the resources to handle it, right? So, I feel bad for some of the migrants, but at the same time, hey, this is what happens when you try to enter a country illegally. And unfortunately, the United States, again, we don't have the resources to take care of all these people. We just don't.
Migrants we spoke to say they sleep with one eye open and one eye shut, fearing they will be attacked. This stabbing comes less than 2 weeks after a 24-year-old man was stabbed to death inside this same shelter. We reached out to City Hall asking if they are aware of how unsafe some migrants feel, but we have not heard back. As we were out here reporting on the stabbings, our camera caught the moment a migrant woman suffered a medical emergency. She was unconscious, just kept having seizures, said this migrant who came to her aid but did not want to be identified. The young woman, who they call Dani, has been living in one of these tents steps away from the city's makeshift shelter for weeks. According to those who live with her, they say she was complaining of the cold moments prior to suffering the seizure.
And we still don't know the condition of that young lady who suffered that medical emergency. All we know is that she was taken to a local hospital. At Randall's Island, I'm Jessica Formoso, Fox 5 News.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Okay, so what you have here is what I was telling you guys about how some of these migrants, they're not equipped for the cold, right? They're so unequipped for the cold that, they're suffering medical emergencies, right? I mean, this woman had a seizure. She was unconscious. I'm hoping and praying that she's okay. But when you talk about having single age men taking up spaces in shelters, that should be space for women and children, okay? You shouldn't have any women and children out living in tents while you have grown men being placed in warm hotels and, other sheltered facilities that are more suitable for keeping warm during the wintertime, right? It doesn't make sense. This is why I said that, this whole process that we have here, the whole system is an absolute disaster, okay? But, hey, it is what it is. It's a terrible situation. It's a sad situation. But, again, as you guys see, the Biden administration is hell-bent on continuing to allow it to happen, okay? They're hell-bent on doing everything they can to not secure the border. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.